You could call the little lion cub before you an outcast, or perhaps the invisible one in the pride, but you could just as well call him the wild dog slayer. Yes, he is the legendary Lion King, whose very name made wild dogs tremble. This is Dumoulin the Brave. Dumoulin's childhood could only be described as turbulent. From the moment he was born into a litter of 6 cubs, he was the weakest of them all. He was often bullied by his siblings, treated as if he didn't exist, and left out. At one point, he was nearly played to death by the adults and the pride. That accident injured his spine, almost crippling him for life. For a cub already so frail, this was a disaster. Yet he received no special care. Even his own mother refused to nurse him, leaving him to fend for himself. But Dumoulin refused to accept his fate, relying on sheer determination and a spirit that never gave up. He kept testing his own limits. In the end, he won back the acceptance of both his mother and the pride. Our story takes place in Zambia National Park. Dumoulin was born into the Nsefu pride, a family with over 20 members. The pride was guarded by 2 strong adult males, so, in terms of family conditions, Dumoulin lacked nothing, but fate seemed to mock him. From the moment he was born, he carried a fragile body and a shy, withdrawn nature. Play fights and wrestling among cubs are how strong bonds are formed, and these bonds are vital for their future. But Dumoulin would only watch from afar, never attempting to join in. Even when approached by another cub, he would shy away. His mother saw all of this. She understood that in the wild, where only the strong survive, Dumoulin had no advantage in strength or personality. Cubs with little chance of survival are often left behind by the pride, so resources can go to the stronger ones. And indeed, in the days that followed, the pride's attitude toward Dumoulin grew colder. The other cubs would gather, playing happily with the pride's alpha male. But when Dumoulin approached his father, the male's attitude changed instantly, showing no interest in playing with him. In the end, poor Dumoulin could only wander away alone. When he saw his siblings return, he would rush toward them, hoping to make friends and play together. But all he got in return was rejection. Even his own mother, once closest to him, began to show irritation toward him. The poor cub had been shunned by the entire pride. He had become nothing more than a shadow, unnoticed by all. Over time, Dumoulin grew accustomed to solitude. He would often lie alone in some quiet corner, staring blankly into the distance. One day, while deep in an afternoon nap, Dumoulin suddenly awoke with a start. He cautiously scanned his room. There was no sign of his mother or the other cubs anywhere. It turned out that while he was fast asleep, the pride had left long ago. Sadly, no one even noticed a member was missing. Perhaps they simply didn't care whether this invisible cub had been left behind. Shy and timid, he didn't dare run off aimlessly, choosing instead to stay put, obediently waiting for his mother to return. But he waited, and she never came. Dumoulin began to feel afraid. He decided to wander around in search of her. At that moment, Dumoulin still didn't realize how serious the situation was. After some searching, he returned to his original spot, afraid that his mother might come back and not find him there. But as evening fell, there was still no sign of her. This time, Dumoulin was truly panicking. No longer willing to sit and wait for death, he frantically ran in all directions to search. But in a grassland full of dangers, how far could a small cub possibly go? Soon, darkness descended. Most animals had already retreated to safe havens. Only a tiny, lonely figure remained, wandering aimlessly in the night, for Dumoulin had still not found his mother. In the stillness of the night, his soft, pleading calls echoed through the air. But such calls were dangerously risky, for they could easily attract predators. Unfortunately, Dumoulin had wandered into hippo territory, and though herbivores, hippos are not above changing their diet if given the chance. Luckily, Dumela froze in place, avoiding the hippo's attention. But another danger was silently closing in. A leopard, with its keen sense of smell, it had already detected Dumela and was slowly creeping toward him. As fellow predators, leopards and lions are natural rivals. And given the chance, a leopard would not hesitate to kill a lion cub. Now, the leopard stopped just a short distance away, not out of mercy, but to make sure no adult lions were nearby. At that tense moment, a massive hippo suddenly appeared, as if from nowhere, and charged at the leopard with authority. It may have been unintentional, but the hippo had just saved Dumela's life. A debt of gratitude was certainly owed to this unexpected hero. From afternoon until late into the night, Dumela had not stopped walking. Hunger and fear clung to him relentlessly. He was exhausted, but more than anything, he longed to be back with his mother. So, after regaining a little strength, he once again got up to search. The little cub still had no idea of the dangers that lay ahead. He called out loudly for his mother, only to wonder, would the first one to find him be her, or another predator, not far away? A few young male lions in the pride were out hunting, but due to their lack of experience, they spent the whole night in vain and returned empty. However, the noise they made accidentally guided Dumela straight to them. At last, he found the pride, but Dumela had no idea that his nightmare had only just begun. These big brothers had never liked Dumela. On top of that, they were furious after failing the hunt, so they took their anger out on him. Poor Dumela became nothing more than a plaything, tossed around mercilessly by the males. They showed no restraint. By now, Dumela was starving. He desperately needed his mother's milk. In his panic, he even mistook an adult male lion for his mother and rushed in to suckle. But of course, it was hopeless. Dumela longed to leave. All he wanted was to return to his mother, but the bullies refused to let him go. Compared to being alone in the wild, staying with them was even more dangerous. If this continued, they might torment him to death. But Dumela's fate was not sealed yet. Not far away, a figure appeared. It was his mother, searching for him. At last, Dumela saw a glimmer of hope. He immediately dashed toward her, burying himself beneath her belly for shelter. In that moment, she was his safe harbor, the greatest support in his life. The males still tried to reclaim their toy, but his mother refused and taught them a lesson. Under her protection, Dumela felt a deep sense of happiness. He tasted a little of a mother's love. But he didn't know that this love wouldn't last long. Last night had been like a nightmare. Luckily, Dumela had made it back to his mother safely. But sadly, after the torment from the males, his spine was injured, making it almost impossible to walk normally. Looking at her frail son before her, it seemed the mother had made a decision. Around them, cubs of the same age played and wrestled happily. They grew stronger and more confident each day. Dumela, ignoring the pain, tried to join in, but the others drove him away. Dumela stood frozen in place, not knowing what to do. He returned to his mother to nurse, but she lowered her head and growled a warning, refusing to let him near. Dumela could only gaze at her with longing. But to heal his wounds, he still needed the nourishment of milk, so Dumela tried once more. But as soon as he began to suckle, his mother abruptly ended the feeding. Dumela froze in shock. Had last night's motherly affection been just a dream? He went to his aunt for comfort. As expected, she too harshly ended the feeding. It seemed the whole pride had silently agreed that they would abandon this sickly lion cub, leaving him to fend for himself. Before long, the pride began to move on. No one paid any attention to Dumela left behind. Of course, no one waited for him either. As expected, Dumela soon fell behind, watching the pride's silhouettes fade into the distance. He still refused to give up, but once again, Dumela was alone on the savannah. Without the pride's protection, Dumela's frail body was an easy target for other predators. But luckily, he managed to catch up with the pride as they rested. However, when he arrived, the lions showed no reaction. Not even his mother glanced at him once. Worse still, before he could catch his breath, the pride moved on again. By now Dumela was both hungry and thirsty, and his wounds had grown more severe. But he dared not stop, for Dumela knew that only by staying close to the pride, staying close to his mother, would he have even a sliver of hope to survive. But dehydration and pain made it hard for him to walk straight. His frail body wavered, threatening to collapse at any moment. And sure enough, Dumela fell behind again. He panted heavily with every step, yet still kept chasing after the pride. As the saying goes, to achieve great success, one must first train the will and endure hardship. Relying on sheer determination, Dumela once again achieved the impossible. He caught up with the pride. At this moment, Dumela longed to drink milk. But his mother still coldly refused. Dumela's eyes were filled with hurt and helplessness. He could not understand why his mother treated him this way. Why did his siblings get to nurse, but not him? Dumela watched his siblings snuggle against their mother with envy. He felt a little hesitant. He wanted to approach his mother for milk, but feared being rejected once again. When he finally gathered the courage to step closer, his mother raised her paw to block him. At that moment, Dumela must have felt heartbroken. But his will to survive pushed him to try once more. The result was still his mother's cold rejection. Not long after, the pride found a water source. With the help of the pride, the lion cubs quickly reached the lake safely. They began to drink eagerly. However, Dumela arrived late and could not find a way down. He fumbled in confusion. He kept calling out to his mother, hoping for help, but his cries didn't bring his mother. Instead, they caught the attention of a crocodile. He was so thirsty that he didn't notice the danger lurking beneath the water. Growing impatient, unable to wait, Dumela chose the wrong path. Sure enough, he got stuck. Below, a crocodile waited eagerly, and Dumela could slip down at any moment. In that critical moment, the mother lion's maternal instinct awakened. She rushed to save Dumela. Other members of the pride helped drive the crocodile away. It was a promising start. Perhaps the mother was ready to accept him back. She gently gripped Dumela in her jaws and carried him to safety. Dumela greedily drank the cool, refreshing water. When he cautiously approached his mother again, this time, she did not turn him away. Dumela rushed into her embrace. She had accepted him once more. Before long, the feeding ended. Though Dumela was not full, it was enough to pull him back from the edge of death. Soon, the pride was on the move again. Dumela was still the slowest of them all, but this time was different. His siblings chose to stay back and wait. Even his mother glanced back at Dumela, as if lending him strength. In that moment when their eyes met, every hardship Dumela had endured felt worthwhile. Through sheer determination and never giving up, Dumela was accepted once more by his mother and the pride, and in the end, became a legendary Lion King.